suit and tie and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
And when you find yourself that real good lawyer, what you need to do is hermetically seal him into a little glass cubicle a long, long way away from you so that nothing can be exchanged between you. Good morning, David Whiting.
Good morning, Virginia.
You're all the way over there.
Yes,
I wish I could describe this. So I'm in a glass studio here at South Bank, and the studio has a big window that opens onto a walkway, a sort of a, what would we call that, like a high line?
Like a balcony.
A balcony, I guess. Yep. And you are out on the balcony, but you're in your own little glass-contained booth, radio booth there.
2 weeks ago was the first time back. There's now an extra layer between us.
Yeah, we're going in reverse. It's getting worse as the numbers come down. Do you remember Pick-a-Box?
Yes, I do.
Isn't this kind of like the Pick-a-Box set up on TV?
Oh, you could ring Barry Jones and ask him. He would have a much better idea than I would.
I saw Barry the other day walking across the street in Melbourne, and he was looking much older and, of course, logically, frailer. But I'd be surprised if he didn't still have his marbles about him.
I'm sure he does.
A few sharper than him. I'm holding in my hand a death certificate.
I promised to bring you last week. I promised I'd bring in a death certificate.
And here
so I've taken his name off.
You have. I was about to ask you, am I invading someone's privacy?
No, which is why I have anonymised the document.
You have, okay. Mm-hmm. So it gives the date of death, the place, the date of birth, place of residence, usual occupation, relationship status at death, and then we go through the relationships and the children and the parents and then the medical cause of death.
Yes.
Right. So if I had 1 million marriages and 1 million kids, it'd just go for pages and pages.
Oh, we'd need a bigger form, yes.
I don't. My life is really dull in that regard. Gee, that's interesting. Why do all the relationships have to be put there?
I don't know, and you'll recall that last week we had a caller who had been not included.
That's right.
It's interesting. Every now and then, particularly when there's a blended family, the question is, do the people who are going to be organising the funeral have that information to include on a death certificate? And you'll find that lots of them don't. So, for example, someone you're organising a parent's funeral, you need to know their parents' names.
It's very true, yeah. But at the point you made, and it went to the point of why our caller was on the line, is that even if you're not mentioned on the death certificate, you are still able to make a claim on the estate if you believe you've been excluded, and if you're included in a will, the money still comes to you.
Yes, and the way you prove parentage is with your death certificate.
Your birth certificate.
Your birth certificate, yes. Your death certificate's a bit hard.
It's a moot point by then, isn't it? 1300 222 774 is the number if you'd like some legal advice. That's from him, not me. I'm just here getting in the way and taking up time, as you will regularly complain. But nonetheless, I still have to sit here. 1300 222 774. Sometimes I'm useful, David.
Oh, no, you're always useful. I hope who else is going to link the calls? But it's a great opportunity to go and get a cup of coffee, Virginia.
David, that's unkind.
Absolutely.
I am useful in this.
Incredibly useful.
Oh, stop being so sarcastic. Gosh, you're awful. Not all issues, I'll have you know, are legal issues.
No, they're not.
They're not. Some of them are actually socio-political issues. Some of them are actually psychological or community issues. Some of them can be solved a different way without going to VCAT.
Oh, yeah, well, the queues at VCAT are getting so long, I'm not sure that I'm at a point where I can, the answer...
In good heart recommend it.
Well, yeah. I had a lady the other day who was suing, who sent me an email saying she was suing in respect of damages caused. So she had a dispute with a repairer over a car bill.
Yeah.
It's going to be, the date she's got for a hearing is 2 years after she lodged her application. Yeah. Now, you come along and you say, was it justice delayed? Is justice denied? So,
is it even worth it? Yeah, well, it is. That's right. They're going to have to fix up those queues. 1300 222 774 if you'd like David Whiting to help you. Ian in Brighton, how can he help? Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. I'm one of 3 owners in a body corporate of units, and we've recently sacked our management company because they were trying to overcharge us on insurance, of which they have a commercial arrangement. One of the owners was in arrears when we sacked them, and we used that money that they would have paid towards a fee. The management company are now trying to threatened this lady with,
But haven't they been fired?
Yeah.
But does it require a special resolution to sack a management company or just a general resolution?
Well, they sent us a quote. So, insurance is something we've had concerns about. They sent us a quote. I spent 5 minutes on the internet and making a phone call and found somewhere at half the price.
Yes.
And I said, this is no good. I want you out. The other two said, we want you out. So they've been dismissed as far as I'm concerned. I heard you once before commenting on this, and you said all you need is a vote by the board.
There's two issues, Ian. First of all, the standard form contract provided by owners corporation management companies to owners corporations make it clear that they receive a commission from the placement of insurance in almost every instance. The second is that you may have signed an agreement with the management company for a fixed period of time.
I've been here for 10 years and I've never seen the agreement, but every year at the AGM, they want to put in that they're going to be appointed for another year.
Yes.
So that was over a year ago now since that happened.
And you haven't had the new one? Well, the answer would be you would be able, absent agreement, you can terminate them.
So he can go ahead and terminate
them. You've got 2/3 of the unit holders terminating them. I think they would be fighting a rearguard battle to keep you, Ian.
Is that a very complicated thing to do, David?
Well, no, if there's no contract, it just requires a resolution of the owners corporation.
All right. Well, good luck with that. Hope that helps.
And
Ian, we'll have to leave it there.
Okay, then.
Thank you. Thanks, Ian. Just a lot of people want to get through, so we'll just take one problem at a time. Derek in Croydon, what's happening?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. My sister-in-law died about 2 weeks ago, and her estranged husband, who'd moved out of the marital home several years ago, on the day of the funeral came back and changed the locks, and he wants to move into the property.
Yes.
My nephew is currently living in the property, so what rights does the husband or estranged husband have to re-enter the property, given that it's currently before the family court and his ownership position or equity in it is unknown? It's to be decided by the family court.
Well, first of all, Derek, if they still own the property as joint tenants, then he now owns the property.
That was tenants in common.
Okay, well then he owns half the property, and there may be orders giving your sister-in-law exclusive rights of possession, but she can't exercise them because she's now not with us.
Yeah.
So the family court claim continues for the benefit of the estate, but if he's a co-owner of the property and there is no order preventing him having access to the property, then he has access to the property. Even though he's only a half owner, your sister-in-law's executor will then be the owner of the other half.
Yes.
But the court case continues.
Okay, but given that there's someone living in the property...
But let me ask you, Derek, the nephew who's living in the property derives his right to live in the property from who?
The executor.
No, from the lady who's died.
Yes. She's
now not in a position to confer those rights. So if there was an intervention order that says you won't go anywhere near Derek's sister-in-law, then the answer would be that order ceased to exist when your sister-in-law died.
Okay.
If there are orders with exclusive use and occupation of the property in the family court proceedings or the family law proceedings, then it may be that those orders continue for the benefit of your nephew, but you'd actually need to look at what the orders are. But if he's a co-owner of the property and there's no order preventing him access, then he has the right to be there.
Derek, is the nephew there, is that this man's son?
No, it's my sister-in-law's son. And I would have thought that perhaps the tenancy laws would...
He's not a tenant.
Well... Yeah,
he's in occupation as a child. He's not a tenant.
Yeah. How old is the nephew?
He's 40.
And is he paying rent? So why would the estranged husband not be entitled to, if the nephew wants exclusive occupation, why would the stepfather not be entitled to rent? So have a look very carefully at the orders made. If there was an intervention order, that doesn't exist anymore. Co-owners of a property have the same rights of access unless there's a court order that says they don't.
Is there a will that now needs to be dealt with, Derek?
Yes, that's being dealt with. And as the property was currently going through the family law,
Yeah.
the status quo would remain.
Okay.
Well, the claim remains in the family court, and that can be maintained by the estate. But until then, you need to see what orders have been made in relation to the property.
Hope that's helpful, Derek. Thank you for calling in. Phil in Wodonga, what's going on there?
Yes, good morning, Virginia and David. Thanks for taking the call. Look, I have a strange one for you. Raising a child as your own for 14 and a half years to believe that the child is yours, and then to find out after the 14 and a half years that the child is not yours. Is there grounds for compensation or loss of wages or something for raising this child for 14 and a half years and then to find out it's not the father's? There is
a
any
claim.
test cases to go by?
There will be. If you want some test cases, I'll give you some next week.
Thank you.
But there is possible to make a claim for compensation for the expenses you've incurred.
Thank you very much, David. Much appreciated.
Phil,
Helped greatly.
Phil, is it your child, the person you believed was your child? Did you raise this child?
Yep. Yes.
Can I say, though, Phil, that the relationship between parent and child isn't merely biological? Picking up on what Virginia started the program with. I mean, the answer is you have bonded incredibly closely with this child. The child considers you to be your father.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't?
No, not now. She tells me I'm not her father and has given me good reason to believe her.
Yeah, some people don't make decisions out of anger, Phil, and it might well be that when the anger is gone, the reality of life sets in. This is a person who's supported me and given me everything I've got.
Phil,
Right,
Phil,
okay.
has this come as a surprise to the child as well?
I'm not too sure about that.
Okay. Do you love this child?
Good question. There's been some goings on since, but I won't go into it. But
Okay.
it's turned pear-shaped, and I can thank. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But what you've told me will help. So
Phil, I would be going off and getting some assistance as to how you might handle it, because it's not just a legal problem.
Yes.
If you're together with the mother of the child, that's a factor.
It's the mother that has to answer to this.
No, well, yeah, but if I were you, I'd be getting some assistance as to what your approach ought to be in the cold light of day and not in passion.
Yeah.
Fantastic. No, I appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Phil.
Take care, Phil, and
Thank
make
you
sure
very
you
much,
make sure
Virginia.
you look after yourself as well. You might need someone to talk to and talk this through. This is an enormous wrench in your life, and as David says, you don't want to act impulsively.
Thank you very much, Virginia. May I say, John would be very proud. You filled his boots to capacity plus, and thank you. Goodbye.
Oh, bless. That's very sweet of you to say. Thanks so much. It's an awfully difficult situation you find yourself in, and you can hear the emotion there, David. It may have been a call about compensation, but it's really a call about the heart.
Phil's rung a few times over the last few years. He seems to be. There are
issues.
Yeah, not inter-family issues. There are housing issues. There are bikie next door issues. There are lots of them.
Okay. Don in Altona, what's going on there, Don?
Good morning. I have paid an application fee to VCAT with a long settlement time, and now the matter's been settled. Am I entitled to get my fee back?
No, because the matter's settled and you haven't got an order from VCAT. Right, so the issue from VCAT's perspective is they've taken in your application, they've dealt with it. While you're waiting in the queue at VCAT, you resolve the matter. VCAT will not give you a refund.
I didn't think so. Thank
Worth
you
a
very
try.
much.
Worth an ask, but the answer's no.
Thanks.
All right, so Don, don't throw good time after bad if you've already expended a lot on this. Peter in South Gippsland, how can we help? Good morning.
Yes, thank you for taking the call. Look, I'm just wondering if David can. I'm trying to get a title released from an NAB bank. It was used to cover a mortgage which was paid out several years ago, and I started on the with the title release authority. Through the bank, and several months ago, in fact it was over 12 months ago, and they didn't seem to be able to do much about it. So I through the bank manager, I filled out a form, the mortgage discharge authority form.
Yes.
And they Yeah, and whatever happened to that? This was on the 9th, just a couple of months ago.
Yep.
And the answer I got back from the manager there on the 25th, a couple of weeks ago.
You're breaking up a bit there.
So, it was... I'm just about finished. You're right.
No, you're just breaking up, that's all. Yep.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was... they gave it to me the day I asked for it to be discharged, or else they gave it to my brother.
Okay, yes.
So neither of them are correct.
Well, I think, Virginia, lots of years ago, what the bank would do on the discharge of a mortgage, when you paid out the loan, they would give you the title and a piece of paper entitled Discharge of Mortgage, which you had to take to the Land Titles Office. The Land Titles Office practice now is that the mortgages are required to be discharged by the lending authority and the cleared title given to the customer. So Peter will be in one of the old systems. Now, 3 years ago, all of the major banks converted titles under their control in accordance with the Land Registry to to electronic titles. So if he was to do an electronic title search, it would say, bank, you still have the title.
So what should
So he should do exactly what he's doing and give them a copy of the title search which says you've still got it.
Okay, Peter? Hello?
And if you can't get what you want there, talk to the Banking Industry Ombudsman.
Okay, I think Peter might have chuffed off anyway, but I hope that's helpful. Thank you so much. Billy in Flowerdale. Lovely part of the world. Hi, go ahead, Billy.
Yeah, I ride a motorbike and there's heaps of big potholes, it seems, over lots of country roads. I travel a bit and I just wondering if I get injured on my bike, if I've got any compensation against the government, any claim.
You're entitled to make a claim to the Transport Accident Commission, but you won't succeed in a claim for the council or the state government not filling potholes.
Right, yeah, no, I guess I just wanted to publicise. I mean, it's terrible that they're not maintaining the roads as they probably should. It's almost a political question, Billy. The answer would be I don't think there's enough money to maintain all of the roads that we've got at the standard we'd all like them to be.
Although, Billy, what's your local government area? What's your council area called, Billy?
Murrindindi.
Next time we have Murrindindi Council on, you call in when you meet the mayor and you raise the pothole issue. How about that, Billy?
Yeah. They have their roads and then you have the Vic roads.
That's right. There's local roads and there's state roads, but we could give it a red hot go. Sorry, we can't help there. Cara in Melbourne, go ahead.
Oh, hi, guys. Big fan. I was just wondering, at the beginning of the show, you were talking about proving that parentage is on your birth certificate. Now, my son does not have his father on the birth certificate because many reasons, but I did not include it.
Yep.
So I know that the father has quite a few children, and I know he is incredibly wealthy. When he does pass, my son will not be able to prove that that's his dad.
So why would you not now make an application for some kind of maintenance or support, Cara?
He refused.
No,
my
no.
son's in... Yeah, sorry.
How old is your son?
He's 23.
Okay. I don't know what a 23-year-old, because you now know you wouldn't succeed in a maintenance application.
No, he didn't pay anyway. He acknowledged that was his son and everything.
Yes.
It's just that when I was filling out the birth certificate, apparently what it says on the birth certificate 23 years ago was what the father puts is legal and what the mother puts was a request. So the father wanted his surname only on my son's name, and he also, for his last partner, she couldn't go overseas or anything with the child because he was just in control of everything. And you have to... Sorry, I'm really nervous.
So you left his name off because of the naming processes at births, deaths and marriages?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And does he now admit paternity? Because it would be possible for the both of you to make an application to amend the birth certificate.
He doesn't know that I didn't put it on. But even when I went to get child support, they said that it wasn't necessary.
Right.
So has he paid child support, has he?
I think he might have paid a total of about $10 or $20 in the whole of my son's life.
Yeah, I think you'll need to look at the Child Support Agency file to see whether there's an admission of paternity. But from what you're telling me, there is no practical relationship between your son and his birth father.
Yeah, they have a bit of a relationship now.
Yeah, but the question would then be, if he was seeking part of his dad's estate, what's the basis upon which he would seek it, given I'll call the lack of closeness of the relationship?
Yeah, true. I know he's got this particular man has about 10 children that he has nothing to do with.
All right.
So,
Well, let's just stick to we'll just stick to the matter here.
Yep.
So, do you want him on the certificate or not?
well, I don't know. I don't know. I just thought that I just said at the beginning of the conversation today, it means it's the only way to prove that you that is your father.
No, that's the easiest way. The start of the conversation was the caller last week had been omitted from his father's death certificate.
That's right.
And we said, well, the way you might prove that this person was your father was to produce your birth certificate.
But if the father's not on the birth certificate, then he can't prove it. That's the point, David.
Then what someone like Cara would do would be some DNA testing with the siblings.
If indeed you wanted to prove it, which is the open question here, Cara. So I guess that's one for you to answer, whether or not you, or maybe a conversation with your son at some point, trying to establish whether you do or don't. I didn't think that was an option, David, and forgive me for being ignorant here, but I thought it was required on a birth certificate that the people who were the parents had to go there.
It's possible for the mother to say unknown. And there's not really anything you can do with that.
Well, that's interesting, because there are anomalies, on birth certificates in relation to mothers and what's considered the mother of a child. So, for example, the someone who is an egg donor, there's a second page to a birth certificate that you can that is put on.
Well, I've got a friend whose older brother is not on his birth certificate, so
right.
There are. Can't work out why.
All sorts of anomalies. We can really quickly, I think, just squeeze one in. Trish in Brighton, if you can, quickly. Good morning.
Oh, hardly. Hi, Virginia, David. It's a boundary fence. We're having a problem with a neighbour, and he wants us to cut down 2 trees. The third party has said no need to do that. There's no obstacle. He's very hard to contact, this man, and he has a hidden agenda that some years ago he wanted my partner to move the fence back into our property.
Back onto the old title boundary, is that right, Trish?
No, the title boundary is quite correct as it stands, but he wants a bit more land because he built a second property behind and there's not much room.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So what do you want to achieve, Trish?
Well, because he's hard to contact, fencing contractors these days won't put up a fence. This fence is now half it lying on the ground, right?
Yes.
So we have...
Sorry, I thought your neighbour wanted the fence. It's you that want the fence, is that right?
Absolutely, David, yes.
Okay. Then you serve a fencing notice by mail, and if you don't get the response you want to the fencing notice, you serve a fencing summons, and that's dealt with in the magistrates' court.
And is that reasonably straightforward, David?
Yeah, again, it's not particularly fast.
Not fast, yeah.
And the issue from Trish's point of view is, while the trees might not prevent the fence being erected on the right line, the neighbour might be objecting to the encroachment of the branches and the leaves, the canopy of the tree over his fence property. That's his negotiating point.
I hope that's of some help, and nice to hear from you, Trish. David, always good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Even at a distance, David Whiting back with you next Tuesday to help you with some legal advice.